The weathered beach house stood sentinel against the crashing waves, its wooden bones creaking with each surge of the tide. Salt-laced air, thick with the scent of coconut sunscreen and the promise of shared secrets, hung heavy over the porch swing where I sat. My brother Mark, his laughter echoing from within, unpacked our bags, oblivious to the turmoil brewing inside me. Beside him, humming along to the radio, moved the source of my unrest, Sarah, my sister-in-law. Her presence had always been a disarming mix of comfort and unease. Comfort because she was the missing piece in Mark's life, the calming force to his storm. Unease because her very being stirred something deep within me, a forbidden longing I had no right to feel. And now here we were, thrown together in this seaside sanctuary, the unspoken tension crackling between us like static in the humid air. Dinner that night was a chaotic symphony of clinking forks and overlapping conversations. The air was thick with the aroma of roasted chicken and freshly baked bread, mingling with the salty breeze that drifted in from the ocean. The table was a mosaic of dishes, each one a testament to the culinary skills of our host, Mark. Mark, ever the jovial host, kept the wine flowing, his booming laughter filling every corner of the small beach house. He moved from guest to guest, ensuring that no glass was left empty, his infectious energy lifting the spirits of everyone around him. His stories, though often repeated, never failed to elicit genuine laughter from the group. Yet, amidst the merriment, I found my gaze drawn time and again to Sarah. She was a beacon of calm in the storm of activity, her presence grounding me in a way I couldn't quite explain. It was as if an invisible thread connected us, pulling my attention to her despite the chaos around us. She sat across from me, radiant in the soft glow of the porch lights, her laughter like wind chimes in the night. Her smile was a gentle curve, a quiet contrast to the boisterous atmosphere. The way she tilted her head when she laughed, the sparkle in her eyes, it all seemed to create a bubble of serenity around her. We were familiar strangers, our paths crossing at family gatherings, birthdays and holidays. Each encounter was a brief moment in time, a snapshot of shared history that never quite developed into a full picture. We knew each other's names, the basics of each other's lives, but there was always a distance, a barrier that kept us from truly connecting. Polite smiles and courteous exchanges masked the undercurrent of something deeper, something unspoken. Our conversations were always safe, always on the surface, but there was a tension, a charged energy that hinted at the emotions we kept hidden. It was as if we were both afraid to break the fragile balance, to acknowledge the connection that simmered beneath the surface. Her touch, always fleeting, lingered on my skin like a whispered promise. A brush of fingers as we passed a dish, a momentary contact that sent a shiver down my spine. Each touch was a silent conversation, a wordless exchange that spoke volumes about the feelings we dared not voice. Her eyes, a deep ocean blue, held a universe of secrets, beckoning me to explore their depths. They were windows to a soul that seemed both familiar and mysterious, a paradox that drew me in and kept me at a distance. In those moments when our gazes locked, it felt as if time stood still, the world fading away until there was only us. Every shared joke, every accidental brush of hands, only served to amplify the forbidden attraction that simmered between us. It was a dance of proximity and restraint, a delicate balance of desire and decorum. The laughter that filled the room was a soundtrack to our silent struggle, a reminder of the boundaries we dared not cross. The weight of it, the sheer wrongness of it, made my heart pound in my chest, a trapped bird desperate for release. The conflict was a constant presence, a shadow that loomed over every interaction. It was a battle between what was right and what felt inevitable, a war waged in stolen glances and unspoken words. The intensity of it all was overwhelming, a storm of emotions that left me breathless and yearning for more. The next morning dawned bright and clear, the sun a blaze of glory on the horizon. The beach, still damp from the night's tide, beckoned us with the promise of sun-kissed skin and salty hair. Mark, ever the adventurer, had already dragged out the kayaks, his enthusiasm infectious. Sarah, however, opted to stay behind, claiming a desire to finish her book under the shade of an umbrella. I watched her as she settled down on the sand, her sundress billowing around her like a flower in bloom. The sight of her, so effortlessly beautiful, sent a jolt of desire through me, sharp and unexpected. Guilt, swift and unforgiving, followed close behind. Going for a swim, I mumbled, my voice raspy with unspoken emotions. She looked up, her eyes meeting mine for a fleeting moment, and I thought I saw a flicker of understanding in their depths. Or perhaps it was just wishful thinking, my own desires coloring my perception. The ocean was my escape, its cool embrace washing away the guilt and confusion that clung to me like seaweed. Each wave that crashed against the shore seemed to carry away a piece of my turmoil, leaving me momentarily at peace. The rhythmic sound of the waves was like a lullaby, soothing my restless mind and heart. I swam until my muscles ached, until the shore seemed a distant memory. The water was my sanctuary, a place where I could lose myself and forget the complexities of life on land. With each stroke, I pushed myself further, as if trying to outpace the thoughts that haunted me. The sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue over the water, and I felt a fleeting sense of freedom. And yet, even amidst the vastness of the sea, I couldn't escape the pull of Sarah's unspoken allure. Her presence was like a magnetic force, drawing me back to the shore, back to the reality I was trying to escape. Floating in the water, I found myself thinking of her, of the way her laughter sounded like music, of the way her eyes sparkled with mischief. Back on the beach, laughter drew my attention. It was a sound that contrasted sharply with the quiet solitude of the ocean. I turned to see a group of friends, their faces lit up with joy and camaraderie. It was a scene of pure, unadulterated happiness, a stark reminder of the connections I longed for but felt so distant from. Mark was teaching Sarah how to skim stones across the water, his arm brushing hers with each toss. Their laughter was infectious, and for a moment I felt a pang of envy. They seemed so at ease with each other, so comfortable in their shared space. It was a simple, innocent interaction, yet it stirred something deep within me. A pang of something akin to jealousy shot through me, sharp and unexpected. It was a feeling I wasn't proud of, a dark shadow that tainted the beauty of the moment. I watched them, feeling a mix of admiration and longing, wishing I could be a part of their world, yet knowing I was an outsider looking in. I watched them, their joy so palpable, so innocent, and I hated myself for the darkness that clouded my thoughts. It was a stark contrast to the lightness of their interaction, a reminder of the complexities that lay beneath the surface of my own emotions. I felt a deep sense of isolation, standing on the shore, separated from the warmth of their connection. As if sensing my gaze, Sarah turned, her eyes meeting mine across the crowded beach. It was a moment of connection, a silent acknowledgement of the unspoken bond between us. Her eyes held a mixture of curiosity and understanding, as if she could see the turmoil within me. It was a fleeting moment, but it felt like an eternity. For a heartbeat, our world shrunk. The laughter and chatter fading into background noise. It was just the two of us, connected by a thread of unspoken emotions. In her eyes I saw a reflection of my own longing, a mirror of the feelings I had tried so hard to suppress. It was a moment of clarity, a brief respite from the confusion that had plagued me. In that shared glance I saw a reflection of my own longing, a silent acknowledgement of the forbidden attraction that crackled between us. It was a moment of vulnerability, a glimpse into the depths of our souls. The ocean, the beach, the laughter of friends, all of it faded into the background, leaving only the intensity of our connection. It was a stolen glance, a fleeting moment that would linger in my memory, a reminder of the complexities of the human heart. The days that followed were a blur of sunshine and shared meals. We would sit together, basking in the warmth of the sun, our laughter mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves. Each meal was a moment stolen from the world, a brief escape into a realm where only we existed. The simplicity of those moments, the way her eyes sparkled in the sunlight, made everything else fade away. And then, as the day gave way to night, the magic of the moonlit sea took over. The moon cast its silvery glow on the restless waves, creating a mesmerizing dance of light and shadow. I found myself irresistibly drawn to the porch swing, a place that had become our sanctuary. The gentle creak of the swing, the cool night air, and the rhythmic sound of the waves created a perfect backdrop for our secret rendezvous. Each night I hoped for a glimpse of Sarah. She too seemed to be enchanted by the night, her silhouette framed by the moonlight as she walked towards the swing. There was something almost ethereal about her, a quiet grace that made her seem like a part of the night itself. Her presence was a tangible thing in the stillness, a beacon that drew me in. We would sit together, the world around us fading into the background. Our conversations were a delicate dance, skirting around the unspoken truth that hung between us. She spoke of her dreams, her fears, and her hopes for the future. Each word she uttered was like a thread, weaving a tapestry of her innermost thoughts and desires. I listened intently, mesmerized by the quiet strength in her voice. There was a vulnerability in her words, a raw honesty that made my heart ache. Each shared confidence, every burst of laughter, only served to tighten the knot of longing in my chest. The more she revealed, the deeper I fell into the web of emotions that surrounded us. She spoke of her dreams with a passion that was infectious. Her eyes would light up as she described the places she wanted to visit, the things she wanted to achieve. There was a fire in her that was impossible to ignore, a determination that made me believe in the impossible. And I listened, hanging on to every word. Her laughter was like music, a melody that played on repeat in my mind. Each shared moment, every stolen glance, only deepened the connection between us. It was as if we were two halves of the same whole, drawn together by an invisible force. But with each passing day, the lure of the forbidden grew stronger. The sheer wrongness of it all was intoxicating, a heady mix of desire and guilt. I knew I should distance myself, create space between us, but the thought of being away from her, even for a moment, was unbearable. The conflict within me was a constant battle. On one hand, there was the undeniable attraction, the magnetic pull that drew me to her. On the other, there was the weight of the consequences, the knowledge that what we were doing was wrong. But the heart wants what it wants, and mine was set on Sarah. I tried to distance myself, to put some space between us. I would walk away telling myself that it was for the best. But each time I found myself drawn back to her, unable to resist the pull. The thought of being away from her was like a physical pain, a gnawing ache that refused to be ignored. I would look back, my heart torn between duty and desire. The struggle was real, a constant tug-of-war between what I knew was right and what I felt was inevitable. But in the end, the heart always won. I would return to her, unable to stay away. And so I stayed. Trapped in the web of my own making, each stolen glance, each shared secret, pushing us closer to the edge of a precipice. The line between right and wrong blurred, and all that mattered was the connection we shared. We were like moths to a flame, drawn to the heat of our own desires. Each moment together was a step closer to the edge, a dance on the precipice of the forbidden. The thrill of it all was intoxicating, a heady mix of fear and excitement, and so we continued teetering on the edge of a precipice, knowing that one wrong step could send us tumbling into the abyss. But the lure of the forbidden was too strong, and we were powerless to resist. The edge was our playground, and we danced on it with reckless abandon, caught in the web of our own making.